In 2005, the Artsakh expedition of the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography of the National Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Armenia discovered the city of Tigranakert, founded in Artsakh by the Armenian king Tigran II the Great. From 2006 to 2020, the expedition carried out annual archaeological excavations in the area, the work of which was led by Doctor of Historical Sciences Hamlet Petrosyan. As a result of many years of work, the walls of the city's citadel, the antique district, the Basilica Church, were opened. In parallel, reconnaissance operations were carried out in some parts of the fortified district in the early Christian necropolis. Antique district. The choice of excavations in the ancient district was largely due to the presence of trenches and defensive positions dug for military training during the First Artsakh War, during which traces of buildings, tunnels, and traces of wells were discovered. The excavations in this area were carried out by archaeologist Inesa Karapetyan. The materials provided by the excavations shed light on the economic activity and household of the residents of the settlement. For example, evidence of crafts developing in the city is found in the piles of weaver parcels and discoveries of knitting needles for textiles. And here are the pottery products with their economic, culinary variety of tableware, luxury of colorful assortment, abundance of shiny selection of eggs, as well as imported household and worship items from different countries. They testify that city dwellers lived here who were engaged in the processing of agricultural and livestock products and handicrafts, had active trade and cultural relations with both Armenian and neighboring Hellenistic city centers. One of the most important excavations in Tigranakert is the early Christian square, which consists of two churches, an early Christian tomb and an ark. Here we find the remains of a cruciform monument. The large church belongs to the type of signal nave basilicas spread in Armenia in the 4th-6th centuries. It is the oldest, most spacious, ornate single-nave hall in the Eastern Caucasus in terms of size and architectural decoration. It is completely paved. The church, built of large polished blocks and lime mortar and placed on a 3-tiered anchor, had one west, 2 south and north entrances, a serrated cornice, a wooden and tiled roof. The entrances had a pair of pictorial columns, which were finished with elaborate caps. The caps depict a cross, grape branches, masses, leaves. The church was destroyed and set on fire in the 9th-10th centuries, and residential complexes were built on its ruins. Only about a century later, the area adjacent to the southern depository regained its religious function. A Hajj car was erected here, and burials were made to the north and west. To the north of the South Church is the second or North Church. The apse of the church has a pre-Christian tomb. It is made of large hewn stones, has a west-east orientation, a cylindrical district, the only eastern entrance. All existing structures refer to late 5th to early 6th century and were built in chronological order. Tigranakert Fortified District. The fortified district is located just above the Royal Springs. It stretches 500 meters above the southwestern slope of Mount Vankasar, occupying an area of about 6 hectares. As a result of the excavations, the 450-meter-long rock foundations of the southern wall of the fortified district, along with some first-row blocks, were excavated. The northern wall is one of the largest excavated walls of its time in the South Caucasus. It brings with it all the nuances of Hellenistic design and construction techniques. The wall is lined with tape-shaped foundations dug into the rock and is about 2.6 meters thick. The largest absolute height preserved is 5 rows of 4.5 meters. The wall is made of dry layer. Lime mortar only plays the role of filling the openings. The quaders have an ideal fiction of the contact surfaces. Large quaders are simply stacked on top of each other. Small quaders are additionally connected with swallowtail ties. The tops of the walls were probably lined with raw brick. The walls were fortified with semicircular, full circle and square towers. The fences acted as a planning axis for the fortified district as the retaining walls of the ravines branched off from them. The buildings were located on several hills. The grandeur of the event, the flexibility of the composition, and the technical variety and perfection of the stone processing and laying are astonishing. Tigranakert citadel, with its 1 square and 2 round towers, occupies the highest triangular part of the fortified district. Archaeological findings include the invention of the seal gemma, early medieval clay stamps, and colored pottery. They show that Tigranakert had an important commercial administrative role, a prominent urban life. Attempts were made in the early Middle Ages to preserve the citadel's military might, and it has lost its defensive significance since about the 11th-20th centuries. Excavations at the top of the citadel show that in the 12th and 13th centuries, this part was turned into a densely populated district. The royal springs are part of the natural historical part of Tigranakert. It is due to the abundance of water from these springs that the city of Spitak was built and developed here. This small paradise was the resting place of royal gatherings, native royal armies, and various cavalry troops. Here is a 3-arched building, which consists of a rectangular vaulted room and a 3-arched open hall, the southern wall of which has a built-in fireplace. The 3-arched hall is almost identical to the architecture of Armenian Springs, which has been widely spread since the 12th century. It can be assumed that it was originally built as a recreation complex near the spring, but later an attempt was made to turn it into a mosque. These springs and the area are uniquely mysterious. According to tradition, the king of snakes lives here. Here, nature and man are intertwined. This harmony also attracted people to it. 12 years ago, in May 2010, the Tigranakert Archaeological Museum was established and operated in the 18th century fortress located in the territory of the Tigranakert State Historical Cultural Reserve. The museum consisted of 3 halls, 2 of which exhibited excavations in Tigranakert, unique cultural objects from the 5th century to the 17th century Anno Domini. In the 3rd hall, the findings of the excavations carried out in the Haikajur necropolis and in New Kamiravan were displayed. They are mainly elegant clay vessels, objects made of stone and glass. One of the most significant inventions on display at the museum is a small clay disc with an isosceles cross engraved on one side and a portrait of a man with a fur beard and a very remarkable Armenian inscription named Vache on the other side. This finding in Tigranakert is in fact one of the oldest Armenian inscriptions found in Artsakh, and is the best argument for the early Christian Armenian features of the Tigranakert Valley, which, according to a number of the historical sources, have been traced back to this invention. The fortress where the Tigranakert Archaeological Museum was located is an 18th century structure commonly known as the Panah Fortress. But later, sources indicate that the fortress existed during the reign of Nadir Shah. There is even an opinion that it was built during the reign of Hulagu Khan, which was later renovated by Nadir Shah, Panah, and the Russians. The Tigranakert State Historical Cultural Reserve was also the #1 tourist resort of the Republic of Artsakh, with its beautiful natural landscape, royal springs, excavations, and archaeological museum.
Artsakh